down at the LFB site in Merton, and we are with...
I'm Kieran, yeah.
And he recently started his role with the control room officer back in
the beginning of November, yeah.
In November. So it's been a couple of weeks, and we just want to find out how it's been going for you. So the first question we want to ask is, what would you say are 3 words to best describe your experience with the LFB so far?
Wow, 3 words to describe my experience so far. So it's been exciting, new, it's definitely new, and engaging. That's another word I'd use. Yeah, because you're constantly learning new things. You're always active. You're always in the moment. So yeah, those are the kind of things I would describe it as. Yeah.
So what would you say is your favorite thing so far in terms of working for the London Fire Brigade?
My favorite thing so far in terms of working for the London Fire Brigade is really the opportunity to help people, because in this role, it's all you do. You just get to be on the phone or on the radio, and it all adds up to helping save someone's life or get them out of a dangerous situation. And for me, that's my favorite part. You just get to help people on a daily basis, and you get to have a great impact in someone's life. The process begins in the control room, and it obviously ends with the firefighters going on scene. And so you're part of a big mechanism, and I really love being part of a unit that gets to help people and just serve the community. It feels like I'm actually doing something with my life that's rewarding.
So when you first applied for the role, how did you find the recruitment process?
Yeah, so the recruitment process I actually found that was probably the worst part of it. And it's not because it's bad, but it's just because it's quite long. So anybody that's applying, I think you've got to definitely be patient. Some of the other people that have applied here, I know they've had to wait up to 2 years just on the list. That's a crazy amount of time. But for me, it was actually about 3 months in total, from the first time I applied, found out about everything, and then to the point I had my interview and I had the contract signed. So that was definitely a difficult part, and something you've got to be aware of, because everybody has different circumstances, right? Like if you're in a job right now, it can be hard to be on hold or be waiting. That's something you've got to be aware of.
So I know you've only been in this role a few weeks, but I just wanted to know, at this current stage, what does a day in the life, an average day at the LFB look like for you?
Wow. So a day in the life here is actually, it can go a lot of different ways. It just depends what's going on. Some days are more quiet than you might imagine. I know from the outside perspective, it can seem like, oh, the phones are always ringing off and there's always something really dramatic happening. But actually, some days the word they don't like to use here is quiet. That's a little bit of a hush word there. But yeah, some days are quiet, and then other days are a bit more, everything's going. I mean, last week had kind of a ground control incident at Heathrow. And so like an airplane had an incident, and it's kind of like all systems are kind of ramped up there. So it just really varies day by day, but that's what I love. It's a completely reactive role. It's something where you're always in anticipation and waiting for what's to come next. And in that sense, you're always kind of switched on and waiting, but you're not always having to do things. It's more just about sort of waiting and being patient, and then just reacting to what's going to come. And there's just a lot of benefit to that, because it means at the end of the day, you're not taking anything with you. As soon as you leave this building and your shift's over, that's it, you're done. The next people are taking over from you. And that's something that people may not think about as a rewarding aspect of the role. I'm not going home and thinking about, I've got a lot of emails to do and I've got to plan out my next weeks. It's just, as soon as my shift's done, I switch off and it's on to the next.
So you're currently undergoing training, but in a couple of weeks, you'll actually start shift work. So we do know that shift work is 3 days on, 3 days off with varied hours. How do you plan to manage that once you start the shift work?
I think that's a great question, and something that I had the most apprehension about before I started. Like, me and my girlfriend, we work different shift patterns. I mean, I'm on shift and she's just working a 9 to 5 role. She also does international work as well, so it can be quite challenging to match that up. So it's really about planning the other things to really make up for that time. Like, I make sure one day a week I'm always trying to get a date night in, just when I can, and then going on shift, it's kind of like just using that free time that I have to take care of what I need to, and being flexible with the things that I'm going to do. I'm a big gym person. I'm going 3 days a week. I'm always usually going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But with shift work, there's going to be just times when I can't really make it on those days, because I've got a 12-hour shift or there's going to be a night shift. So it's just trying to move things either backwards or forwards sort of one day. It's not as dramatic as you might think, but it's just sort of being prepared and planning appropriately. I think something that is kind of underrated is that here, what is considered to be one tour, which is one long day, one short day, and then one long night shift. If you were to book annual leave and you booked off one tour, those three days, you actually get 9 days off. That's a lot of time off just to book off 32 hours. You get 256 hours plus every bank holiday a year, just a standard holiday leave here. So I haven't really found it too difficult yet. I mean, I've already had a chance to be on shift, see what it feels like. I think as long as you're a person that can stay up a bit late at night when you need to, you'll be fine. But I think one thing that's also maybe not really talked about so much is you get a lot of breaks here. You're not just sat in the control room for 5-6 hours at a time. You get a break every 75 minutes for at least 10 to 20, sometimes even 40 minutes. And that can really help reduce the burden or break up the day. So when it comes to just sort of managing like my life outside of the shifts, it's pretty easy. I mean, you've got normal days off in the week to get stuff done. Like you can go shopping on a Wednesday morning when everybody's at work, or you can make doctor's appointments much more easily. So there are a lot of benefits that I think you've got to really be in it to see what it feels like.
So you found out about this role from the Tours Employment Team.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, how would you describe the Tours Employment Team if you had to pick 3 words?
Oh, 3 words for the employment team. Definitely supportive, informative, and resourceful. I think they had a lot of contacts that were really useful, but the main thing was the support. Like personally, I would have never considered this role before I heard about it through them. But getting the opportunity to come to control, to meet the team, to get a look around the offices, it completely changed my viewpoint of, oh, maybe I can do this. And then it was a lengthy application process, but I got support all along the way that I did that. Whether that was interviews or questions and just general information that it's just very useful to you in your process. And I think those kind of things, they make a difference. Like I said, I wouldn't have considered this, but now looking back, it's like I couldn't imagine anything different really.
Did you feel supported by the Tours Employment Team with the application interview process? If you did, can you provide some details?
Yeah, sure. I think the main thing was actually doing some pre-interview practice. I think that helped me feel a lot more confident and secure in just some general questions that they're going to be asked when you do an interview here. Just getting that bit of help, that bit of extra practice, it just sets you up to, when you step into it, it's just a simulation, it's a replication. It's like doing training here. So yeah, that was definitely the main thing and the most support that I got there. And I think for anybody in this process, I mean, you've got a lot of different points of contact, a lot of people to reach out to, and everyone's more than happy to answer your questions. And I think they provide a medium to the people that work here as well. And that's something that can't really be overstated, because having that gateway towards people that work here, you can just get more inside information and also meet the people that you're going to work with. I can't express how useful that is, being able to actually meet the people that you're going to be working with here. Like on my first time being introduced here, I was with a person called Helen. You may get to meet her when she runs some of these groups, but I'm going to be going on to my actual watch with her. So it's crazy. 6 months ago, I was in the position just learning about it, hearing everything, and now I'm going to be working alongside the person that was telling me about things. And it's a really surreal place to be in, but it also makes me feel like, oh, I've come such a long way as well. And yeah, it's amazing.
So would you recommend the Tours Employment Service to family and friends, or just to anyone that wants to apply for this role? Would you recommend them coming through our team?
Yeah, I absolutely would. I mean, for me, just to give sort of a brief background, during the pandemic, it was quite a bad time for me. I was unemployed for like a year. I just couldn't find work, and it's hard to get a job these days anyway, but having that support, it's not like just using any recruitment service where it's more cold and it's just about filling a number and criteria and then just moving on to the next. It was actual getting to meet somebody, getting to actually have that contact time, having that support, knowing that you're part of something that's actually, they only want to get a job here to help. It's a win-win for everybody. That's not the case in all kind of different recruitment services. So I would definitely recommend this to family and friends. Anybody that just thinks, oh, maybe I could do this or that. They've got all kind of different avenues and options, different jobs available. And you can sort of get fast tracked into doing something that like you may never have thought of. For me, this is a brand new chapter in my life. It's completely transformed sort of how I see my day-to-day life. I've got really good structure now. And it's also put me in a position where I feel like my future is a lot brighter because I've got consistent work it's not going to go away anytime soon, as well as something that's fulfilling. And I think even though I was never able to find that myself, just being linked up with this service, Merton's team, I was able to find that. And so, it's sort of friends in unsuspecting places kind of thing. And you just never know what you might get out of it. So I definitely recommend to anybody just to give it a go and see what you might find.
How do you feel about the current representation within the London Fire Brigade?
Yeah, I feel like the representation in the London Fire Brigade is on its way to being a really diverse culture. When you go into the control room, there's 6 different watches, and you'll find all sorts of different people from all sorts of different backgrounds there. And they're doing so much more to include a lot more different kinds of people, whether that's from different cultures and backgrounds, races, ethnicities, but also people with different diverse neurological conditions. They have something called neurodiversity. And that's for people that have different sort of different mental conditions. That could be something like dyslexia, dyspraxia, or autism. There's a number of other things, but they have a lot of accommodations put in place here for people, and they actually celebrate it. It's something where they want people that come from different backgrounds. They want people that think differently, that approach the process differently. And that way you get kind of different results. And some people may be good at some things and maybe worse at other things, but in the end, that provides a great sort of mixing pot of people that can do the job and get a big balance of opinions. So LFB has good representation. I do think it could be better, but I think, I come from a diverse cultural background myself. I've never felt discriminated against here. I've felt included, and I only feel like it's on the way to becoming even more so. So I definitely think LFB is a good place for diversity.
Any advice for any new candidates interested in applying for the control room officer roles, or just for anyone that wants to work for the LFB?
Yeah, I would absolutely say just go for it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. As I've said previously, this is a new chapter in my life, and it absolutely could be for you too. You don't necessarily need any prior qualifications or really any experience at all. If you're just someone that can talk to people, you feel like you're good in a team, you want to help people, you're willing to fail but keep trying so that you can get better, this is absolutely a place for you. And I think you may have a home for life here. This is not a job that's going away anytime soon. There's great benefits here. I mean, I was just at Yo Sushi yesterday with my girlfriend. I'm using a blue light discount. Managed to save like £10 on a meal. And like, in these tough times, that's a lot of money. You might not think about it, but there's a lot of benefits to working here. A lot of job security. You've got a lot of great annual leave. There's so many things. So I'll just say to anybody that wants to apply, just go for it. You never know how it might work out for you. You may just land yourself into something that you kind of never even thought of, but it kind of works out exactly how it should.
So before applying for this role, you were invited down to the LFB site where you were able to meet with the employers and just get a tour and, envision yourself potentially working at this site. So what was your thoughts? How did you find actually coming down and having an induction at the place where you could potentially be working?
Yeah, honestly, it was amazing. Like, it completely changed my perspective. This is something that I wouldn't have thought about applying for before. It's just something that, aside from never really having seen it because they don't advertise that well, literally, it's like, I just couldn't picture myself here. But having the opportunity to come down, meet your employer, meet team members, it gives you a much more realistic, surreal feeling about what it's actually like. Like, when you get to go onto the control room floor and you get to feel it a little bit. I mean, I got to sit down with people taking calls and listen to real live calls. And it's kind of like, oh, maybe I can do that. That's crazy. Even if you're overwhelmed by what's happening at the moment, it's like, it's a process. You get to break that down. When you're just at the other end of the computer, like I have been many times, applying for jobs, and it's like there's a massive disconnect there. This fills that void, and I would really recommend anybody that's like, oh, I don't know if this is for me, but maybe. Honestly, getting the opportunity to come down and see it for yourself, seeing is believing, and that's what you get to do.